with the Silmaril stolen from Morgoth in possession of Dior Elukil, ruler of the restored kingdom of Doriath, the sons of Feanor demanded the jewel's surrender, still bound by the oath spoken centuries earlier. Hearing no reply from the king, Celegorm rallied his brothers, and together they marched an army into Doriath, slaughtering their fellow elves in the Second Kinslaying. Among those who perished were King Dior and his wife Nimloth, while their twin sons Elurin and Elured were captured and left in the woods to die. Though the sons of Feanor were victorious, they suffered heavy losses, with the death of Curufin and Carantir, as well as Celegorm, who was slain by the king. They also failed to complete their objective, as Elwing, daughter of Dior and Nimloth, managed to escape with the Silmaril, leading a party of survivors to seek refuge in the mouths of Sirion. With Doriath fallen, Gondolin became the last great elven kingdom in Beleriand, though the Dark Lord Morgoth was already scheming to bring about their downfall. Within the walls of the secret city, two influential factions were at odds, as Maeglin of the House of the Mole grew increasingly jealous and angry towards Tuor of the House of the Wing over his marriage to the beautiful Idril, daughter of the king. Maeglin was the son of King Turgon's sister, who found her way to the forest of Nan Elmoth, where she married Eol the Dark Elf and raised their child. Tuor, meanwhile, was a mortal man descended from the chieftains of the House of Hador, and was the son of the mighty hero Huor, and the grandson of the legendary Húrin Thalien. Despite being born in other lands, both came to live in Gondolin, and were made lords by Turgon, forming two of the 12 great houses of the kingdom. Yet Maeglin fell madly in love with his cousin Idril, and was outraged to learn she would marry Tuor, growing increasingly jealous of the human. With discontent clouding his judgment, Maeglin unwisely decided to break the law and left the city, only to be captured by orcs and brought before Morgoth. Under threat of torture, Maeglin revealed the location of the hidden city and offered details about their defenses, pleasing the Dark Lord, who then promised him the kingship of Gondolin, with Idril as his bride, in exchange for betraying Turgon and killing Tuor. Agreeing to his terms, Maeglin soon returned to Gondolin, where he feigned a new positive attitude in order to avoid suspicion, laughing and joking with his fellow elves. Having learned much from his elven servant, Morgoth knew that the armies of Gondolin were prepared for invasion, and so cleverly withdrew his spies and scouts from the area, tricking King Turgon into believing the Dark Lord had cancelled his plans to attack. And so it would be on a night of celebration, with defenses reduced, that Morgoth gathered his mighty host and marched upon the city. Though the elves were ultimately defeated, they fought to the bitter end, performing deeds of great valor, like when Ecthelion of the House of the Fountain fought Gothmog, the Lord of Balrogs, driving the beast into a fountain where they both died. There were also the actions of the human Tuor, who led the House of the Wing against Maeglin and the House of the Mole, killing the traitor and tossing his body over the walls of the city. Tuor then rescued his wife Idril and son Eärendil, before leading a retreat out of Gondolin, under orders from the king, who remained behind with his soldiers to hold off the enemy. As Tuor and Glorfindel of the House of the Golden Flower led their people through a secret escape, they were confronted by a Balrog. Glorfindel then sacrificed himself, using the weight of his body to drag the creature over a cliff, allowing Tuor to lead the remnants of their people west, taking refuge in the mouths of Sirion alongside the survivors from Doriath. As the years went on and Tuor grew older, he longed to explore the Western Sea, eventually sailing away from Middle-earth alongside his wife Idril, with their ultimate fate unknown. Back in the mouths of Sirion, Tuor's son Eärendil remained behind, ruling over those who settled in Arvernien, alongside his wife Elwing, daughter of King Dior, who still possessed the Silmaril of Doriath. Together, they had two sons, naming them Elrond and Elros. Unfortunately, it was not only the forces of Morgoth who sought to do them harm, as the remaining sons of Feanor continued to search for the jewel of their father, still bound to the oath they swore. Marching their army to the mouths of Sirion, they launched the Third Kinslaying, once again slaughtering their fellow elves. Though the sons of Feanor won the battle, and even apprehended the princes Elrond and Elros, Amrod and Amras were killed in the fighting, and they once again failed to capture the Silmaril. With their settlement destroyed, Elwing threw herself into the sea, where she was saved by the Vala Ulmo, who transformed her into a great white bird. Flying through the air, she then found her husband Eärendil aboard the ship Vingelot, and together they sailed west, using the Silmaril to light their way, hoping to find the Valar and beg for their assistance. When they arrived in Aman, Manwë was moved by their plea, and assembled a great army of Valar, Maiar, Vanyar elves, and those Noldor who remained behind when Fëanor and Fingolfin journeyed to Middle-earth. The Teleri elves also contributed to the mission by providing ships to take them east. However, they refused to participate in the fighting, as they still resented the Noldor of Fëanor, who slaughtered their people in the first kinslaying. Arriving in Middle-earth, they were joined by the surviving elves of Beleriand, as well as the remaining men of the West, while many Easterlings fought for the Dark Lord, whose armies had grown vast after conquering nearly all of Beleriand, and included orcs, trolls, balrogs, dragons, and other wicked creatures. They then engaged in the War of Wrath, a long and bloody struggle that went on for 40 years as the host of the Valar carved their way through the enemy, to at last reach the bulk of their forces in the north. Desperate to turn the tide of battle, Morgoth unleashed his deadliest weapon, releasing his winged dragons for the first time, quickly devastating the armies of light and threatening to defeat their forces. Yet as the fighting intensified, Eärendil the Mariner flew into battle aboard a skyship, accompanied by a mighty host of eagles under Thorondor, destroying many of the dragons, including Ancalagon the Black, largest and greatest among them. When at last the forces of the Dark Lord were defeated, Morgoth was captured and taken to Aman, where he was beheaded and his spirit sent through the Door of Night into the Timeless Void, unable to return to Arda until the Dagor Dagorath at the end of the world. With Morgoth captured, the final 2 Silmarils were recovered by the Maya Eönwë. However, when the last 2 surviving sons of Fëanor learned of their location, they snuck into the camp and killed the guards to take possession of the jewels and at last fulfill their oath. Surrounded by enemies, Maedhros and Maglor were prepared for a fight to the death, but Eönwë instead allowed them to leave unharmed, so no more blood would be shed. Though they finally held the jewels of their father, the sons of Fëanor found no joy or peace in their victory. As they'd committed so many evil deeds, the Silmarils burned in their hands as they held them, bringing only pain and misery. Unable to live with all they'd done, Maedhros threw himself and the jewel into a fiery chasm, while Maglor tossed his Silmaril into the ocean and lived out his days wandering alone through Middle-earth, singing songs of lament. With the War of Wrath at an end, the lands of Beleriand collapsed into the sea, and so the Valar issued a pardon to the remaining Noldor who had left Valinor, allowing many of the elves to return to the Undying Lands. Yet not all were willing to abandon Middle-earth, with leaders like Gil-galad, Galadriel, Celeborn, Elrond, and Oropher choosing to remain behind and found new homelands further east. As for the Edain, who fought with the Valar, they were rewarded with the island of Numenor in the middle of the Sea of Belegir, founding a new, glorious kingdom under the rule of Elros, who was born half-elven but chose to live the mortal life of a human, as opposed to his brother Elrond, who chose to live as an immortal elf. Though Morgoth was at last defeated and could no longer directly influence the world, many of his followers continued on, with orcs, trolls, dragons, and balrogs fleeing into the east, as well as his lieutenant Sauron, who rose to become the new Dark Lord of the Second and Third Ages. Love audiobooks? Then be sure to check out Audible, where they have the world's largest collection available. Simply sign up through the link in the description box below and get 2 free audiobooks to start out. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like the Spectral Knight, Midori Senin, Q Straight Arrow Valverde, and Fred Heartless, Knight of Iron and Ice. If you'd like to help CivilizationEx, click on the Patreon link, and please be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and click on the links to see more.